Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is the official broadcaster of this event. And can I tell you something? It's all systems go here. So you better keep it right here. And tonight, we still want to discuss about the blue economy, what to expect and what should be the way forward. And guess who is joining us in the house tonight? I think I should allow you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. My name is Maina from Cytonn Investment. I'm an investment analyst with Cytonn.
Why would have an investment analyst be doing on a panel discussing blue economy?
As the word says, it's blue economy, so it involves our economy, which in turn involves investment and money.
Very well.
Yes.
Tell me this, I mean, are you happy, sad or psyched up that the Blue Economy Conference is finally here with us?
I am interested, is what I'd say, because it's a very interesting thing that we have not seen anywhere else in our country. It has not been mentioned before. Most of us are hearing about it for the first time now. Yeah. So I think it's something that people are looking forward to hear what it is about, what effect it has on the economy, what effect it has on them as Kenyans and individuals. Yes. As
an investment analyst, do you handle business that is blue economy related?
No, I do not yet.
Not really?
Yes.
Yet there is so much potential out there.
Yes.
How comes as a country and even as business people, as a private sector, people are yet to realize the immense opportunities that lies in our waters?
Allow me first to help people understand what blue economy is before we delve into what opportunities are there. Basically, blue economy is innovative ways of using our waters to give us economic value as a country. And our waters include the ocean, we have the rivers and the lakes. So your question is why we haven't seen people investing into it. And one is because there aren't enough, regulation around the blue economy. People don't know about it. Investors are not incentivized to invest in our waters. It's a very capital intensive investment because it involves things like shipping and transport on our waters, and private investors may not be able to do it on their own without the support of the government. So maybe that's why we haven't seen a lot of private investment in this sector.
How would you expect, the upcoming conference, to boost the knowledge that they're in regards to this area?
The upcoming conference is mainly supposed to chart a way forward in which the country can be able to implement sustainable implementation of the blue economy. This means that you're coming up with ways to get value from our ocean, from our rivers, from our lakes, at the same time maintaining the environment, sustainability so that there is no pollution or erosion of their value, and at the same time involving the society that is around those areas. So those three things are very key to the blue economy and its implementation. So that we expect that this conference will give us answers surrounding those three things. Yeah.
And what should be the outcome of these meetings?
The expectation is that we'll have a way forward as a country in how we are going to reach our 2030 goals of having a blue economy and getting the most
SDGs.
And getting the most economic value from our waters. Yeah.
Tell me this. I mean, do you feel like the common man is somehow detached from what is happening in the blue economy arena?
In my view, yes, and a lot of education will be needed for the common man to know where their involvement is when it comes to the implementation of the blue economy. So the government will need to do a lot of sensitization and information, giving a lot of information to the public so that they know this is our part to play when it comes to the implementation of this, and this is the value we get from the blue economy.
I mean, blue economy may sound to be a huge kind of a big word here, but it just is the economy of our waters.
Yes.
And we interact with water on a daily basis, from the fishermen in Lake Victoria, to Masinga dams, here where we have. How comes we are yet to exploit the resources that lies within our waters?
I think the main challenge is there isn't any regulation, a lot of regulation that surrounds the investment into our water resources, or even the activity that surrounds our water resources. So the implementation of the regulation that is present is probably lagging. So no one is really involved in knowing who is taking care of our oceans, or how much money are we getting from our oceans? What can we do better to make sure that we are getting the maximum economic value from our waters? So there lacks that involvement by the government as well as the public. That's why we don't get the maximum value from our waters.
What are some of the opportunities do you feel or do you see that are yet to be exploited?
One, I think our fishing industry can improve greatly. Currently, we are producing around 2,500 metric tons of fish yearly, and we have a capacity of about 35,000 per annum. So the government is aiming to do around 18,000, and this.
But you see, the challenge has always been that. Yes, we can produce so much, and we are producing so little. But even our fishing methods, are so archaic, right?
Yes, they are. And now with the blue economy, it's supposed to look at all these things. How can we innovate even our fishing methods to make sure that there is efficiency and production is high? Do we need to train fishermen? Do we need to tell them what is best to do? Do we need to give them opportunities to process their fish before they export them to increase their value? All these are things that the government needs to think about, and we are hoping will be discussed during the conference. Yes.
And tell me this, for example, look at tourism, the tourism industry. And we know for sure that, Kenya has some of the best beaches in the world. How comes we are here to attract the numbers that we deserve? Because, for example, look at a small country, a country, not a small, but look at, for example, Morocco, it doesn't have the beaches to talk about. Yet they attract more than 10 million visitors. We are still struggling, to hit the 2 million numbers here in Kenya. With these immense opportunities and tremendous coastline that we have, what do we need to do, to ensure that we attract the numbers?
To begin with, our tourism sector has been faced by a number of challenges in the past, including terrorism. But I think we are on a path to recovery. The government has been putting a lot of effort in advertising our country, even outside. So we think this is going to improve the number of visitors we get to the country. But I think a lot needs to be done in terms of investing in our tourism and advertising our country out there, telling people why they need to come to Kenya and visit us. Yes.
Look, for a country that has a coastline that stretches more than 500 kilometers and 200 nautical miles, into the ocean, yet we still have Lake Victoria up here. We have Lake Baringo, Lake Naivasha, Lake Turkana. We have Lake Nakuru. All these. We have rivers. Yet when you look at the contribution of our waters, to our economy, it's hardly less than 5% of our GDP.
Yes.
What is not adding up here?
I think lack of focus on that sector. We will focus on transport, we'll focus on agriculture, we'll focus on various sectors, but there hasn't been a real focus on our waters to say that this is what we have and this is how we can use it to help our economy grow. There are countries like Seychelles and Mexico who have tried to do this, and it's helping the economy very much. They have seen tremendous growth by implementing just the blue economy and the policies that they have come up with. And I think that's why this conference is very important, because it gives the country another channel of a source of income or a source of economic growth for our country. So if the government focuses on this and it actually implements the policies that it comes up with during this conference, then I think we will see an improvement in terms of how much we're able to get from our waters.
For example, when you look at the issue of transport, we know for sure that close to 90%, of our cargo is transported through the port of Mombasa. Yet, when you look at other opportunities, for example, the tourism industry, the cruise ship industry, it is the first time we are putting up a cruise ship terminal in Mombasa. how then do we accelerate, the cruise business, around our waters?
For one, I think the government needs to encourage the public for them to be able to invest or have private investors get into these businesses. If you look at our transport in the waters today, most of it is owned by foreign countries. We don't own ships as a country. So one is for the government to provide avenues for private investors to come into this business. They can offer grants like other countries are doing, such as I mentioned Mexico. They have offered up to 50% grants to any person who is willing to invest in the transportation industry on their waters. So this would be an encouragement for people or private investors who would want to join the industry. And the public and private partnerships are very helpful because they reduce the amount of money the government is going to spend, and at the same time they boost the economy. So I think in having incentives that will attract private investors into this industry is very important. Yeah.
And tell me this, it is the first time, that Kenya is hosting and the world is hosting, a sustainable blue economy whereby matters of sustainability are going to be discussed here. How can we take the opportunity and snatch this real opportunity to fashion ourselves as a country that cares about our waters in the world?
One, I think there needs to be a lot of research to be done. We need to know what it is we can do. Are we going to increase or to give opportunities for more fishing? Are we going to look to focus on transport? Are we going to focus on processing of whatever minerals we can get from the water? We have to look at what areas will work for us as a country first. Then number two is the implementation of these areas. And the challenge that comes with implementation most of the times in the blue economy is the financing. So we have to have a plan on how we are going to finance these activities. And number three, actually implementing and allowing people to invest and giving, as I said, incentives for private investors to also join the investment in this economy. So those are the three main things that I think need to be done for us to see this take off and be beneficial for Kenyans. Yeah.
And one thing that has always been a challenge is security or securing our waters. And just this week, about 3 days back or 4, we saw the launch of the Kenya Coast Guard, which is expected to help in policing and securing our waters. Yeah. And we know for sure that as a country, we lose more than 100 billion shillings every year, to illegal fishing.
Yes.
How do you expect the Kenya Coast Guard to change the equation?
I think there will be improved security. There will definitely be improved security on our waters. There'll be less of the illegal fishing, which means there'll be more money coming into the economy. And number two, there's also the risks that we have of piracy and illegal dealings of arms and crude oil on the ocean, which of course robs the economy some money. And we expect that this is going to be reduced with the Coast Guard security that has been implemented.
And then after that, the reason why we've been having illegal fishing activities is because we are not very aggressive when it's come to fishing.
Yeah.
Then how do we ensure that, yes, we have secured our water, we have safeguarded our interest in the high seas, then how then do we exploit the resources there?
One, we have to inform the public on what economic value there is for them to join these activities. So if it comes to fishing, you have to inform the public that it would be good for you to do fishing legally because of this and this advantages that you get as a fisherman. Train them on better ways of doing their fishing so that they get the most out of it. So I think having an informed public, especially the people who surround the water bodies, and for them to know what economic value they can get from these water bodies is very key. Yeah.
So then, tell me this, how then do we ensure that we do not over-exploit our waters?
The implementation of the blue economy comes with regulation. So it also, nothing can be implemented in an economy without having clear regulations and even policies that will guide this implementation. So we're expecting that if the government is really keen on doing this, they will also come up with serious regulations that will be implemented and help to guide people on how far they can go in terms of exploiting the resources. Since these resources should be exploited in a way that they are sustainable, so that we are not degrading the environment or polluting it. Yes.
And going forward, how do we ensure, that yes, the sustainable blue economy was held, delegates came, and they left? How do we ensure that the benefits that comes by hosting this event trickles down, to the ordinary man and woman down there?
I think it's for the government as well as the media as well to keep the government on its toes, to remind them that you had this conference, this is what you discussed, this is what you promised Kenyans it would mean to them. And even for the investors in this country to be willing to partner with the government and say, yes, we can see the possibility of this being huge and impacting our economy very hugely. We want to be part of it. So the conversation has to be kept going, not that we have the conference and then we end the conversation there. So everyone has to be willing to keep the conversation going. And
what is the role of the private sector?
The private sector is mainly one to finance the implementation of the blue economy. The government might be overwhelmed by how much it needs to invest to make this come true as a dream or as a vision for the country. When the private sector is involved, then it reduces the burden that the government has in terms of financing this, and at the same time it grows our economy because the money is able to trickle down to the mwananchi. The private sector should be willing to come together with the government and implement this. But at the same time, the government has to give them incentive because they can't just come without having something to look forward to. Yeah.
And when you look at the contribution of our water bodies, to our GDP, do you think we can do better?
We can definitely do better.
How?
We are currently doing about 2.5 to 5% contribution to GDP every year. The value of the goods and services that are available on our water bodies annually is estimated to about 4.4 billion US dollars. And of this amount, 4.1 of it is just for tourism. So we haven't thought about the mining we can do. We haven't talked about fisheries. We haven't talked about the transportation. We haven't talked about insurance. These are areas that
marine insurance.
These are areas if they are improved, we can do much better in terms of the contribution of our marine economy to the GDP.
Including water sports?
Including water sports, which counts as tourism.
Very well.
Yeah.
As we wind up, going forward, tell me, what are your expectations now that we are counting days, before the meeting kicks off?
As I said, this is a very exciting conference for everyone. My expectations are that whatever is going to be discussed will not be left in those boardrooms and meeting rooms, that it's going to be implemented. We want to see the government actually committed to implementing the blue economy. Countries have gone to the extent of creating their own ministries for blue economy. Maybe Kenya can take that step as well, so that we can have the actual someone focusing on it as their main agenda, because it's something that actually has potential. Yes.
Very well. Faith, as we wind up, tell me this, what would be your advice, to the people who are watching youth at home and wondering, blue economy, I mean, how does this concern me, honestly?
My advice for them is, I think they should stay informed and know where it is that they can put their money. If you're an investor, you can look for opportunities. There'll be a lot of opportunities coming up in terms of the things that you can do, whether it's training, research, or even actual investment in either of these sectors. So be on the lookout to see where it is that you can fit in.
Very well.
Yeah.
Faith, thank you so very much indeed for joining us here. We look forward to see you. Are you coming for the conference?
I will make time to be there.
Please make it, so that we can also push the discussion up there.
All right.
Otherwise, thank you so very much indeed for your input.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're watching Business Insight. We are live and we are coming to you from Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. here in Broadcasting House. We're taking a short break, and thereafter we'll be back with the most